Good morning, everyone. I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
Happy Wednesday to everyone. May inaabangan tayong bagyo. Sana naman humina para hindi na tayo maapektuhan. Pero just the same, Pag-asa said, supposedly tonight, no?
Actually, in Cagayan, nagsa-start na kasi yung mga pag-ulan dun.
Yes,
diba? Kaya yung ibang mga, like sa Batanes, kung sa inaasahan daw itong magla-landfall, naghahanda na rin yung mga residente dun. Pero mamaya, bigyan natin sila ng update.
Oh, anyway, ito, bicho to.
Pero, alam mo yung bicho-bicho. I love it.
In the end, anyway, may question ako for viewers. Baka naman may kasagutan kayo dito. Ano po ang pagkakaiba ng bicho at donut? At bakit may butas ang donut? Huwag niyo ako tatanungin gusto ko malaman kung anong alam nyo.
Oo, baka
bakit
naman
may butas ang donut?
Oo. Ba't ito walang butas?
Question. Anyway, we're serving you news in a countdown.
All that before your second cup of coffee. This is Brunch.
Let's start off our countdown with news about severe tropical storm Christine. The death toll from Christine has reached 139. 86 individuals were injured, while 21 people are still missing. Over 1.7 million families, or 6.8 million individuals, are still reeling from Christine's onslaught. 86,000 families, or 334,000 individuals, are still in evacuation centers. As of today, the cost of damage to infrastructure has hit 2.8 billion pesos. Meanwhile, the cost of damage to agriculture is also around 2.8 billion pesos.
Grabe, ang taas. Ang dami talagang naapektuhan nitong bagyong Christine, no? And of course, sinasabi ko natin dito lagi na hindi pa nga nakaka-recover from previous na mga bagyo. Ito na naman.
Si Leon.
Alright, so will it be rainy undas for most parts of the country? To answer that, we have Pag-asa weather forecaster Veronica Torres now on the line. Good morning po, Miss Veronica.
Hello, good morning din po sa inyo, pati na rin sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Miss Veronica, nasaan na po yung sentro ng Bagyong Leon at anong mga lugar po yung apektado nito?
Etong sentro po ni Leon, kanina alas 4 ng umaga, nasa 395 kilometers, silangan ng Calayan, Cagayan. And then maximum winds of 165 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness up to 205 kilometers per hour. Kumikilo sa direksyong Kanluran, Hilagang Kanluran, sa bilis na 15 kilometers per hour. May nakataas din tayong wind signal. Ang pinakamataas ay signal number 3 sa Batanes at ang eastern portion ng Babuyan Islands. Signal number 2 naman sa nalalabing bahagi ng Babuyan Islands, Cagayan, northern at eastern portion ng Isabela, Apayao, Kalinga, northern at eastern portion ng Abra, eastern portion ng Mountain Province at Ilocos Norte. Samantalang signal number 1 naman sa nalalabing bahagi ng Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, nalalabing bahagi ng Mountain Province, Ifugao, Benguet, nalalabing bahagi ng Abra, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, Nueva Ecija, Aurora, northeastern portion ng Tarlac, northern portion ng Bulacan, northern portion ng Quezon, kabilang na ang Polillo Islands, Camarines Norte, northern portion ng Camarines Sur, northern portion ng northern at eastern portion ng Catanduanes naman. So ang pinakamataas na wind signal, posibleng umabot ng signal number 4, pero ang signal number 5 ay hindi ruled out. So, pagpalapit nga nitong si Leon sa may bandang Batanes area, hindi din natin nirule out yung paglakas nito or kung ito ay magiging isang super typhoon po.
Yeah, Veronica, you mentioned ang pinaka-possible peak nito is signal number 5. If ever mangyari ang signal number 5, what area sa Pilipinas ang makakaranas nito?
Opo, so kung magka-signal number 5 po tayo, mostly sa may extreme northern Luzon area po yung posible nating tasan po nito. And then, hindi rin ruled out kung dito sa may bandang northern Luzon ay magtataas din po tayo.
Veronica, clarify ko lang, no? Lahat ng binanggit mong signal kanina na nangyayari ngayon, all of these are with Leon not hitting any landmass, no?
Sa ngayon po, nakikita din po, ngayon, hindi pa naman po siya nagla-landfall, pero yung close approach or landfall nito sa may Batanes, not ruled out din po.
Not ruled out din. Okay, okay.
Yan, para mas malinaw lang po ulit tayo, kailan po lalabas ng Philippine Area of Responsibility itong Bagyong Leon?
Opo, etong si Leon ay posible ngang lumabas na ating Philippine Area of Responsibility bukas ng gabi o Friday early morning.
So, ibig sabihin yan, uulanin yung undas, ano?
Sa nakikita po natin, hindi naman po din natin nirule out yung pag-ulan sa Undas, pero based sa ating outlook, sa Metro Manila, ngayon and then tomorrow, posible yung mga kalat-kalat na mga pag-ulan. Pero sa ibang parts ng nasa may mga Northern Luzon at Western section po ng Luzon area, up until November 1, posibleng maulan, pero after naman ay improving weather na po tayo.
Meron pa po ba tayong binabantayan na iba pa mga weather disturbances sa labas po ng Philippine Area Responsibility?
Sa ngayon, wala naman na po tayong ibang namomonitor sa loob or malapit sa PAR po.
Yeah, Veronica, madami nang tatanong kasi para ma-explain lang natin sa mga viewers natin na maigi, ano daw ang epekto ng amihan tapos may parating daw na La Nina sa isang bagyo pagpapasok sa bansa natin?
Opo. So, ang La Nina, mostly kasi ang general na nangyayari pag may La Nina, ang epekto nito sa bagyo ay posibleng mas marami yung mga papasok sa area of responsibility natin, pero mas less yung damage nila. So, on the contrary naman, El Nino, mas onting bagyo, pero mas mataas yung posible maging lakas nito.
Okay. So, in other words, yung La Nina, mas madaming bagyo, mas mahina. Ang El Nino, mas konti, pero mas malakas.
Opo, ayun po yung usual na nangyari. And then, yung sa amihan naman po, ay kapag minsan, or kasi ang La Nina is associated with high pressure.
Yeah.
So, kaya kapag second or last quarter na po ng taon, ang nangyayari is mas nagla-landfall. Mas marami yung landfalling ng mga bagyo dahil mas napupush nito pababa yung bagyo.
Okay.
Although naman po kapag may times na kapag yung bagyo ay nagta-travel bandang east ng Northern Luzon, may possibility din naman itong humina kasi malamig yung hangin.
Okay.
Or malamig yung karagatan rather.
Yan, mga educate lang sa viewers natin.
Okay,
Alright,
sige. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Pag-asa Weather Forecaster, Veronica Torres. Itong natin, weather update natin to. Top 9 natin yan. Hindi ko na ipasok yung top 9. Papasok mo pa ba, Direk?
Pero yan bago tayo mag-move on, very interesting lang kasi it makes sense if you think about it. Diba, the storm generates strength pag mainit because the heat gives the storm energy. So it makes sense pag El Nino mas konti pero pag tumamag grabe.
Yes, di ba? Tapos lalo pa tayo ngayon climate change, so rising temperature.
Buti lilinaw ni Veronica kasi ang notion ng mga tao, La Nina ngayon Bakit yung mga bagyo, di ba dapat sunod-sunod? Ang La Nina pala, mas madami pero minsan hindi mo mapapansin kasi mas mahina. Okay?
Right.
Ayan,
sige.
may paano pa ang branch sa inyo, paaral pa, 101 bagyo. Okay, coming in at the 8th spot is what? It is the preparation for Undas. The Philippine National Police has deployed thousands of personnel to assist passengers going home to their provinces. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza with the report.
Over 18,000 cops will be deployed to secure the observance of All Saints and All Souls Days. According to Philippine National Police spokesperson Brigadier General Jean Fajardo, they will secure cemeteries, transport terminals, and major thoroughfares.
Sa ngayon po, ma'am, ay meron na po tayong soft deployment pagdating naman po sa pagbabantay po natin sa Undas dahil may mangilan-milan na rin po tayo mga kababayan na nagpupunta po sa mga puntod po ng kanilang mga mahal sa buhay. Kaya nag-deploy na po tayo. Around mga 7,000 po ang mga nakadeploy na po at meron na po tayo mga police assistance desk at by tomorrow po hanggang Undas at hanggang long weekend po ay more or less aabot po sa 18,800 yung ating i-deploy nationwide po.
The Department of Transportation earlier said that they are expecting around 1 to 1.5 million bus passengers and up to 3 million passengers in airports and seaports during the Undas break. The PNP will also send augmentation teams for the areas affected by severe tropical storm Christine.
Doon po sa mga affected ng areas po ng bagyo ay tuloy-tuloy po yung ating gagawin pong retrieval and relief operations at kaya nag-deploy na rin po tayo ng augmentation teams particularly doon sa affected areas para kahit paano po ay yung mga tauhan po natin na nagre-render po ng assistance relating po sa ating disaster response ay hindi po sila aalis doon sa area at ibang mga tauhan naman po natin ang i-deploy para po sa Undas po.
Included in the deployment are police sa barangay, roving foot and mobile patrols, and force multipliers to the residential areas as PNP expects more people traveling to the provinces. Meanwhile, the PNP is continuously doing humanitarian assistance and disaster response to help the victims of Typhoon Christine. Aside from manpower, they also deployed mobility assets.
Maliban po doon sa ating mga tauhan po na more or less mga nasa 4,000 po yung nakadeploy po doon sa mga affected areas, particularly doon sa mga severely affected po like region 5 and region 4A, particularly dyan sa Batangas, ay meron din po tayong mga ibinaba using our mga choppers po. At maliban po sa mga 3 choppers po natin na nagdadala po ng mga relief goods po, ay yung ating mga mobility assets katulad po ng mga PNP buses, coasters, and man trucks po na nagagamit po sa mga retrieval operations, sa pagtatransport po ng mga kababayan po natin na mga na stranded po.
The agency is coordinating with Armed Forces of the Philippines, Office of the Civil Defense, and affected local government units. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza, We Are One News.
So madalas na dinadagsa ang dangwa sa Maynila bago mag-undas.
Uy, pero hindi lang sa undas yan, pati Valentine's meron
Yes.
din. Sa patay at sa pag-ibig, dinadalaw yan. Pero magkano kaya ang presyo ng mga bulaklak doon? Para malaman yan, makakausap natin live mula sa Dangwa, Maynila, si mobile journalist Denise Valdez-Sancho. Denise!
Hey, Denise!
Madami na bang bumibili ng mga flowers dyan sa Dangwa?
Hello, Diego. Hello, Angela. Oo. Tama kayo, nandito ako ngayon sa Dangwa, Manila, katabi ko. Sa kanan ko ay ang Maria Clara Street kung saan congested na ang traffic dahil sa dami ng mga tao dito ngayon sa Dangwa na namimili in preparation for undas. At ayon nga sa mga nakausap ko, as early as the 25th, naghahanda na yung mga vendors dito para sa mga arrangements at mga bundles na binibenta nila. Ngunit yung dagsaraw ng tao nagsimula noong 28 ng gabi. Kaya asahan na around nighttime dyan, napakarami ang bugso ng mga tao. At usually, para sa mga presyo ng bulaklak in general, 150 ang pinakamura hanggang papatak ng 1,200 pesos. Usually, ang hinahanap dyan ay yung orchids natin na mabibili 160 per dozen. Ang roses natin mabibili, meron tayong red at white roses, 250 per dozen at 225 pesos per dozen. Carnation naman ay 400 pesos per bundle. Meron din tayong Malaysian Moms, 300 per bundle. Sunflowers, available din yan, 250 pesos per 10 pieces. At isa sa mga pinakamahal siguro, yung tulip natin, binibenta nila ito, pumapatak 90 pesos per piece. Kung gusto mo naman yung mga fillers, gusto mong mas makamura, meron tayo yung Radus na tinatawag nila, pumapatak yan na 150 per dozen. Meron yung mga yung Hydra rin, mura lang 50 pesos per bundle naman yan. Ngunit para sa mga hindi marunong mag-arrange, meron naman syempre silang inaalok na arrangement prices na pumapatak between 100 pesos to 3,000 pesos. Syempre, yung 100 pesos yun yung mga simpleng centerpiece arrangement lang. At depende pa rin yan syempre sa laki ng ipapagawa mo o laki ng bibilhin mo at sa uri ng bulaklak dahil maaaring pumatak pa rin yan ng 1,000 pesos. Kung doon naman sa may mga musileo, yung mga bipisita sa undas, meron ding binibentang corona, papatak yan ng 1,500 to 3,000 pesos. At actually, meron pa rin binibenta dito mga dried flowers. So, mga naka-arrange na rin yan, pumapatak around 150 to 250 pesos.
Denise,
ayan, Diego, Angela.
Denise, ano ba yung sikat usually ba pag binibili tuwing undas? Ano yung favorite flowers ng mga kababayan natin?
Nasa likod ko, for example, itong pakita ko na lang. Ayan. Itong Radus, ayan, isa kasi siya sa mga, ayan, marami kasi ditong mabibili. Naka-bundle, mabibili mo nga siya around 150 pesos per dozen lang. Usually yung mga kasama na sa arrangement na mabibili mo rin ng naka-bundle. Meron tayo orchids, binibenta nila yan. 160 pesos siya per dozen, pero ang bentahan kasi nila dito naka-bundle. So in a bundle, nasa 3 dozen yan ng orchid, around 500 pesos. Siyempre, ayan, halimbawa, baliktarin ko lang yung camera. Nasa harapan ko, itong, ayan. Ayan, for example, yan, roses. Marami pa rin nagbebenta ngayon ng roses dito. Red and white roses, around 250 pesos per dozen yan. Siyempre, yung mga imported na tinatawag nila, yung mga China roses, around, yan yung mga mahal talaga, dahil nga, imported, around 1,200 pesos yan per 20 pieces. Pero katulad nga nung nabanggit ko, no, may mga nagbebenta na rito. Actually, kaya ako dito pumwesto dahil kung bibisita ka ng Dangwa, dito sa kahabaan ng Maria Clara Street, dito nakapwesto yung mga naka-arrange na bulaklak para sa undas. Kung papasok ka kasi dito, no, sa kahabaan ng, actually dito sa bandang pa UST at bandang pa Lacson na ba ito ay sarado na kasi yan. Dito, madalas binibenta nila mga naka-bundle na. So, ang bubungad talaga sa'yo dito sa Dangwa, yung mga arranged pieces na, at syempre yung mga bundle. Kasi marami pa rin ang naghahanap na mga reseller mula sa mga probinsya, no, para bumili in bulk at i-resell sa mga probinsya. Yes.
Denise, nakita ko nga sa mga pinakita mo sa aming videos na napakarami na mga bulaklak dyan. Pero I was wondering kung natanong mo ba kung meron bang epekto ang Bagyong Christine dun sa mga naging supply nila ng bulaklak dyan sa Dangwa?
Hindi naman daw, Angela, no, dahil napakarami raw nilang supply ngayon. Marami at least compared to last year, no. Mas marami ang marami ang supply ngayon, tama, no, from Baguio, from Benguet. Kaya kung magpo-fluctuate man ang presyo and in the following days around 50 pesos, no, mag-range yan mula 50 pesos siguro ang madadagdag sa presyo ng mga binebentang bulaklak dito. Pero hindi naman kailangang mag-worry ng mga bibili dito dahil as per the supply, marami ang supply. Pero ang advice, no, ng mga vendor dito kung pupunta kayo as much as possible today or tomorrow dahil ang nangyari kasi last year around November 1, umaga pa lang, ubos na yung mga paninda dito. Kaya habang maaga, pumunta na kayo.
Alright, sige. Maraming salamat sa iyo, mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho.
Pero alam mo, may nakita akong post ng isang boyfriend na nagkamali. Pumunta daw ng Dangwa kaninang umaga sa Facebook yan. Tapos bumili ng yabang niya ng arrangement para sa anniversary nila ng jowa niya. May ready arrangement daw. Binato daw sa kanya yung arrangement.
Bakit?
Kasi pangpatay daw ang arrangement. Hindi mo alam ng lalaki.
Hindi marunong.
Basta nakita na lang doon sa Dangwa.
Pwede ka naman magtanong doon.
Hindi, kasi ang Dangwa sikat pang Valentine. Yes. Siguro nakita niya yung arrangement, kinuha, pampatay pala. Galit si jowa.
Pero kasi di ba yung iba, sinasabi din nila ngayon na baka daw baging matuman yung pagbenta dyan sa Dangwa dahil ngayong iba affected ng Bagyong Christine. Not necessarily the supply, but of course yung imbis na ibibili ng tao ng bulaklak, bili na lang nila ng bigas nila, pangkain nila. Pero we'll see, marami pa rin naman ng
pwede rin mag-upcycle, di ba? Pag dumalaw ka sa puntod ng dinadalaw nyo, tapos na, hindi, patay naman, di kunin mo yung flower, irigalo mo sa...
May magagalit sa pag...
Sino magagalit?
Wait lang, si Tita Daisy...
Joke lang yun?
Oo, joke. Si Tita Daisy sabi niya, di ba may tanong ka about the donut? Bakit daw may butas? Kasi kailangan daw gumawa ng bitcho, kaya yung binutas from the donut, yun yung gagawin na bitcho.
Interesting. Tingnan natin yung ibang Thank you, Tita Daisy, Yung mga iba pang viewers natin, bakit may donut, bakit may bitcho, at bakit may munchkin? Bakit hindi nilagay yung munchkin sa butas ng donut para takpan?
Bakit ang dami mong tanong? Coming up! The Supreme Court released a TRO against the transfer of PhilHealth unused funds to the National Treasury.
And the House Quad Committee may tackle former President Rodrigo Duterte's usage of confidential funds. However, is Duterte going to attend the committee's next hearing?
Yan ang malaking tanong.
At if he does attend, will he control the hearing again?
Just like what he did.
Or magbabanggaan sila ng ano?
Sino ang sasama sa kanya sa pagpunta doon?
Alamin.
We're just getting started, mga kapatid. More of our top 10 news and brunch returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning! You're still watching Brunch here on One News. Habang kinakain ko to kanina yung bicho-bicho. Ang sarap pala. Meron siyang cheese sa loob.
Mag-greetings muna tayo. Ito si Ralph Domingo daw watching from Taipei. Inaabangan na daw nila yung bagyo. Sam Pokemon Go, good morning daw. Si Angela Lagunsad, watching Brunch daw. Okay.
Nako, nalobat yung laptop ko. Sino pa? Sabi ko, kumakain ako eh.
Hindi, naghahang eh. So far, yung pala nakita ko naghahang bigla.
The usual.
No, anyway, Vladimir, Si BJ, good morning. Si Mother Earth, good morning. Tita Daisy, of course. Maraming salamat po sa tip, yung shinare mo about donuts.
Mina Viñales.
Mina Viñales, Jessie Mendez family, good morning.
Si Mig Sebron, si Sam Pokemon Go, Gary Field, sino pa? Si Ralph, of course, don't forget Ralph. Alex Fuentes, si Gary Co, sino pa? Si Ronald Maxtay, Oscar, yan yung mga nanonood sa Tito, Naldin, Tito Nito nanonood sa atin.
Mamat dad ko.
Okay. Let's continue with our countdown. On our 7th spot are Trump and Harris. The two U.S. presidential candidates and their supporters continue to trade barbs. Trump dismissed claims that he is comparable to Nazis. Several speakers in his rally in New York made crude and racist remarks about Puerto Ricans, Palestinians, and Trump's opponent Harris. Some critics compared the event to a 1939 Nazi rally in the same venue.
The newest line from Kamala and her campaign is that everyone who isn't voting for her is a Nazi. We're Nazis. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite of a Nazi.
Thousands gathered to hear Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania. Among those who attended was former President Barack Obama, who urged voters to reject politics of division and hatred.
We have to reject the kind of politics of division and hatred that we saw represented. America's ready to turn the page. America's ready for a better story. Philadelphia, we are ready for a president, Kamala Harris.
Actually, I was
head-to-head na sila.
Actually, I was looking at numbers.
Yes.
No? Although they are tied, and some would say Kamala is favored and some would say Trump, historically kasi if the race is tight, it tends to favor the Republican side because it's not taken into account in Middle America vote, which are not part of surveys. So, if it's the at saka yung trajectory kasi mula September, peak ni Kamala yon, pataas siya nun. Pero September, going down, there's a downward line that will continue to go down up to November. So if it holds true daw, this is going to be a nail biter. You have to remember, electoral college votes ang United States election. But, di ba kasi per state may naka-assign na number if you win. There are certain states in the US, I don't remember which, they don't give you the full votes. They will determine, kunyari,
wala nang habol to eh.
For example, Nevada. Diba? Nevada, nanalo si Trump. Pero he wins by a small margin. Hindi yung buong, kunyari lang, 10 votes ang electoral votes ibibigay, ihahati nila. So with a tight race like this, each swing state is very important.
Exactly. Tapos doon sa survey na binabasa natin kanina also, in-itemize nila doon kung saan ba mas malakas, mahina itong dalawang kandidato na to. Sinasabi nila, itong si President Donald Trump, former US President Donald Trump, malakas siya pagdating sa immigration policies. Kasi ang kanyang mga sinasabi during the campaign would be mass deportation sa mga illegal immigrants. No? Pagdating naman kay Kamala Harris, malaki ang kanyang points sa usapin ng extremism.
Pero ang problema kasi sa tao, although malakas ang points sa extremism, ang important is if you take a look at yung surveys, ang economy ng US is bad now. Jobs are at one of its lowest. And Trump, that is his platform.
Yes.
Create jobs, more for Americans, improve the economy. So biglang ngayon, kahit African Americans and you have Hispanics, na ini-expect mo kay Harris mapupunta vote. No. Majority of African American men and Hispanics tend to favor Trump because naghahanap sila ng stable jobs, naghahanap sila ng income.
O kasi si Trump, America
so
First
that
policy.
is, do you remember nung tumakbo si PRRD, he ran on the platform of anti-drugs, and it worked because yun ang hinahanap ng tao. Donald Trump is running under the guise of improving the economy and giving more jobs, which is the most important right now sa mga Americans.
Ang Democratic naman, they're showing or giving us the big guns nila, diba, by showing us kung sino-sino yung mga nagsusupport sa kanilang mga big names. Pero yun nga, pinag-uusapan din natin kanina, ang importante dyan, kahit mas maraming registered voters ang Democratic Party, ang nangyayari tulad doon nangyari doon sa dating election, si Trump versus Clinton, nanalo bigla si Trump because mas maraming mga Republicans o Middle Americans ang lumabas at bumoto.
At saka, before we go on and move on to our next, you have to remember, no, Middle Americans really don't care about rhetoric. So yung mga sinasabi nilang Obama effect does not work in this kind of an election because what they're saying is sick and tired of politicians na daw ang true. What they call true-blooded Americans, and they are looking for radical. The word is radical change already. So they don't care about rhetoric daw because it does not feed them. That was an interview done.
Pero grabe tong ano na to, no, yung tight nung kanyang nilang race at magkakaalaman yan sa November 5.
We'll take a look kasi malapit na po yan. And remember, why is it in the interest of the Filipino?
Bakit ba, di ba?
Because if a Republican wins, Trump has said he will divert most of the funds na naka-allocate sa Ukraine and Middle Eastern wars with Israel and allocate it to the Asian region, meaning he is going to invest in nations that will counter China. Because you have to remember...
Pero di ba dati kampi siya sa China?
No,
Si
kampi siya sa China in terms... No, pero
best friend niya, di ba?
No, pero sinasabihan niya ang China na itatax niya lahat ng sasakyan galing sa China and Mexico.
Pero tignan natin,
may mga
basta
heavy...
importante kasi kung sino yung mananalo sa US dyan, of course, will affect yung pakikitungo natin pagdating sa foreign policy.
Basta ang tingin ng mga tao, mas friendly towards the Asian region and Asian politics.
Talaga ba? Parang iba yung alam.
No. Trump has gone on record and when we guested them here that he said the funds will be diverted to stability in the Asian region. And that's what the Republican Party said. Okay, you cannot change what the stand of the party is. You are merely a personality in the party.
Pagdating ng election.
And lastly, remember, Catholic vote, a majority of the Catholic vote goes to Donald Trump because mga anti-abortion and pro-life yung si Republican Party in general. So yun ang
pero itong si Kamala Harris naman, malaki din ang mga hatak niya sa mga babae, 'di ba? Of course, yung mga iba pa. Dahil ayaw nila kay Trump dahil nga misogynist ang tawag nila, ganon.
So para sabi nila, misogynist versus abortionist. So mamili na lang kayo.
Tingnan natin. Sige.
Okay, let's move on to the next. Moving over to our top 6. The COMELEC is looking into allowing a 15% shading threshold in ballots for the 2025 polls. This could mean that shaded ballots with at least 15% shading will be counted. Now, that's lower than the current 25% shading threshold set by COMELEC. This is recommended by COMELEC's Project Management Office, which still has to be approved.
At least doon, kahit yung nakatatanda, may kapansanan, yung medyo nahihirapan, siguro naman kahit na tuldok lang na ganyan, point lang na ganyan, mabibilang na ngayon. Kasi that's the intention of the voter. Always remember, in an election, the real intention of the voter should prevail.
Kapag nagkataon, ito yung pinakamababang ang tawag din threshold na gagawin ng COMELEC. Kasi before, I remember, may mga watchdogs o mga election watchdogs ang mga nagpo-protest dahil before it was 50%. Tapos ma-disenfranchise ka na kaagad nun, 'di ba? So ngayon kung 15%, medyo okay yun. Kaya yung ibang mga watchdog sinusupport itong gagawin ng COMELEC Okay, kasi yun yung yun yung pag-shade sa balot kasi minsan hindi masyado maayos yung pag-shade, 'di ba, ng mga voters.
Yung mga seniors na hindi makakita sa hole.
Oo, hindi nababasa minsan ng mga machines na di-disenfranchise. So sayang naman yung boto. So right now kung 15%, medyo magandang balita 'yan kung sakasakali, 'di ba? All right, sige, let's continue with our countdown. Piping hot at the 5th spot is all about Alice Go. The dismissed Bamban mayor is facing another case before the court. COMELEC has filed a criminal complaint before the Tarlac Regional Trial Court for allegedly misrepresenting herself as a Filipino citizen. In the complaint, COMELEC said Go has violated the Omnibus Election Code when she ran for mayor in the 2022 elections, even if she is not a Filipino citizen. Go was previously revealed as Chinese citizen Go Huaping through a fingerprint match test by the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI. Go, however, continues to deny this report. Ayan, this is expected naman na gagawin talaga ng COMELEC yan dahil nga, of course, nandyan naman na sa report yan na yung sinabi yung misrepresentation in 2021 when she filed her certificate of candidacy saying that she is a Filipino. On the other side of the fence, sinabi nila Go Waping, hindi daw totoo yan at yan ilan lamang sa mga kaso ni Go Waping.
One of many na abangan natin.
Order of arrest, nasa ano siya, di ba?
Detention Center.
Detention Center
PNP
pa ba?
custodial pala. Alam ko, nandun siya. Alright, let's move on to the next. Now on our top 4 is about Harry Roque. The former presidential spokesperson is now facing a human trafficking case over his alleged involvement in POGO operations. Now here's the report.
PAOK has filed a qualified human trafficking case against former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. This is in connection with his alleged involvement in the operation of a POGO hub in Pampanga. Roque was among the 5 new respondents of a supplemental affidavit filed by PAOK. The commission used the testimony of PAGCOR Assistant Vice President Jessa Fernandez as basis. Fernandez confirmed that Roque himself followed up for the renewal of the POGO Hub's license, but Roque maintained that he only accompanied Cassandra Ong, who represented the POGO Hub.
Na walang kahit sinong nagrereklamo, na recruit ko sila, na pinilit ko silang magtrabaho. Wala pong ganyang testigo. Yung papel na sinasabi nila ay hindi po pruweba na ako ay isang officer ng Lucky South 99. At pangalawa, yung pagsama ko, wala pong ibig sabihin yun dahil hindi naman po yan ebidensya na ako'y nag-recruit sa sapilitan para pagsamantalahan ang trabaho ng kahit sino man.
The former presidential spokesperson plans to file a counter-affidavit on the case, but he said he won't personally go to the Department of Justice for the filing. Roque and his wife are being hunted down by authorities for failing to attend in congressional hearings. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Ang tanong, where is
Atty.
Attorney
Pero parang
Harry
ano
Roque?
pumayat si Spox Oo, na-stress siguro si Spox. Tsaka may heart condition siya, remember?
Yeah.
He dropped out of that last election.
Because of that.
Because of his heart problem. Nag-bypass ata siya or nag-angioplasty ata. Something like that.
Lumalawak Lumalawak itong involvement niya supposedly, allegedly, dito sa mga POGO hubs, illegal POGO dito sa Pilipinas.
Yung contempt arrest order ng Senate or yung Congress naman, nawawala yan right after the hearing adjourns. Pag mag-close yung hearing, wala na yung arrest order. Ngayon, iba ang usapan yung magkaroon
ibang mag-file ng case, diba?
Sa DOJ na
ito,
yung human trafficking, di ba? Yung human trafficking case, doon may arrest order na
ito, PAOK ang nag-file ng human trafficking
with
case.
that, he has to comply with that. Hindi na siya pwedeng magtago.
Totoo yan. Pero syempre, alam mo naman, dyan na ano rin si Kibuloy di ba? Yung nagkaroon ng mga patong-patong na nakaso, may arrest order, yun na yung talagang mapipilitan siyang magpakita. Pero ito, in the case of Kibuloy, kasi, di ba? Surrender ba? Or arrested?
Mitigate or aggravate?
Pero ito nga, di ba? Ito na yung chance nila. Pagka nahuli nila or kunyari may arrest order na, based dito sa pag-file ng PAOK ng case, di ba? Itong human trafficking case versus Roque, pwede na mag-request ang Congress, diba, sa korte nakahawak nitong kaso na to na kung pwede siya paatinin doon sa kanilang Quadcom hearing.
Alright, pagbalik ang daming sumagot sa donut issue. But yan ang issue of the day, hindi po yung top 1. Don't go away, we're not done yet.
Side issues.
May 3 pa tayo, stay with us. Back, you're still watching Brunch here on One News. I have some interesting takes from our viewers regarding, nag-giggles nyo? Anyway, regarding donuts. So, some Pokemon Go, very interesting. Parang ito na pag-aaralan ko rin before. Number 1, it can compete with bagels. Ang backstory nito is because before, ang bagels ang sikat and nobody knew what donuts were. So, yan. Sabi niya, number 1 is so it can compete with bagels. Number 2, so it can be hung on string. Siguro pag binibenta sa bakery, nakatali yan. And number 3, when they used to cook it nung una, yung gitna had uncooked and greasy center. So they punched it out para, kasi luto daw yung gilid eh. Yung gitna
Sayang
hindi.
naman.
So they punched it out. Next batches, ganun na lang daw ginawa.
And there you go, may munchkins ka na pag-punch nila.
Yan ang sinabi ni Gary Field. Sabi ni Gary Field, it's a marketing strategy. Yung may butas ang donut sa gitna, pero maganda tignan, madaling hawakan, madaling maluto. O tama, isa lang. Yung tira daw, ginawang munchkins. Sabi niya.
Well, it's a donut day for brunch.
Okay, ayun. So yan ang ano natin on donuts.
Okay, let's continue with our countdown. We're down to the third spot. It's all about former President Rodrigo Duterte. The House Quad Committee may question the ex-president's usage of confidential funds. That is, if he is going to attend the next hearing. Santa Rosa, Laguna Representative Dan Fernandez, the four-committee panel may discover link of Duterte's confidential funds to the so-called Davao model. It is the alleged reward system that incentivized police officers to kill suspected drug personalities during the drug war. From 2016 to 2022, Duterte enjoyed around 21.5 billion pesos of confidential, intelligence, and extraordinary funds. The former president has yet to confirm if he will attend the House Quadcom's hearing. Una na yung sinabi nila eh, 'di ba? Saan ba galing?
Yeah, saan
itong
galing?
itong mga kung totoo ito, 'di ba, yung reward system, saan nanggagaling yung mga pinangre-reward sa kanila? And I think they're also going to tap get the assistance of AMLAC.
Yeah.
Dahil din po pwede rin may mga money laundering na pinag-uusapan ito. Bukod doon sa confidential funds.
Pero ang mahirap-
Meron palang extraordinary funds. Alam ko lang intelligence saka confidential.
Madaming pondo yan yung Office of the President. Pero kahit may AMLAC yan, mahihirapan sila magkaroon ng paper trail because...
Confidential funds.
No, even if it's listed sa bank ang withdrawals, hindi naman naka-line item. So hindi mo maibabangga sa, kunyari, may payout to certain policemen, hindi mo mababangga kasi lump sum yan.
Yes.
So ang pwede gawin ni Duterte, PRRD yan at that time kasi, naka-cash buo. And that's how you disburse it. So wala ka ng paper trail.
Saka yun nga kasi 'di ba may supposedly yung confidential funds or intelligence funds may ano yan eh national security na ang tawag dito nakaakibat. Kaya hindi nila po pwedeng i-itemize kung saan nila nilalagay or binabayad yung pera.
At saka technically, yung drug war is classified as a national security concern and hindi naman proven kay PRRD yung direct link direct na inutos mo pumatay. At very best daw so far, at very best aside from taking into consideration yung Senate hearing, ang ginawa ni PRRD is to enganyuhin manglaban ang kriminal. If you take a look at the law, yung penal law, yung natin, yung on criminal intent, it's not very clear if you tell somebody, sige, manglaban ka ng laban, tapos pinatay mo. Because technically, self-defense pa rin yun. So, it's not clear yet. Pero hindi pa tapos ang House Quad Committee.
Pero ito nga, yung pinag-uusapan nila dyan ay about yung pere. So, isa pa rin, kaya nga Quadcom yan dahil yung isa pa, yung issue ng Pogo, di ba, they're saying also, baka naman galing din yung ibang mga binibigay sa mga police, yung reward system na to, whoever, ay galing din sa mga kinikita sa Pogo.
As the hearing goes on,
sanga-sanga no?
Ang daming nanganganak na issue. Now we're talking about confidential funds of the President.
Yes.
Madami pa tayong
natin kung
pag-usapan.
a-attend siya doon, that remains to be seen.
Well, that should be interesting because Congress has been now known to go against the Duterte brand of politics.
Yes.
Hey.
Let's continue with our countdown.
On our top two is the Senate drug war probe. Senators weigh in on the outcome of the controversial hearing attended by former President Rodrigo Duterte. Senator Bato de la Rosa told the big story that he was pleased with what transpired. He said it was good that we finally heard the side of Duterte.
It went fine, no? At least nakapagsalita yung ating dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte at nakuha natin ang side niya patungkol sa war on drugs.
Meanwhile, Senator Coco Pimentel, who led the hearing, refutes claims that Duterte dominated it. Pimentel told Storycon that one side was happy to have aired their side, while the other one believes they got some evidence.
Kung ganyan yung feedback natin, ibig sabihin nun, nagampanan natin yung papel natin na maging fair na chairman. Gitna lang tayo, gitna lang ako, wala akong agenda rito.
Well, he did dominate. Okay, you may have been fair, sabihin na tao, but there's no doubt PRRD was
dominated that
he was in
hearing.
his element in that hearing.
Kasi dumating pa sa point na siya yung nagtatanong, tapos si Senator Bato de la Rosa, no po sir, no po sir, hindi po sir. Mr. President, hindi po.
And one of the smartest was Senator Risa Hontiveros because alam mo naman you don't expect PRRD to give you damning testimony that will impinge him. But very smart kasi pinikon niya si PRRD. And we all know, pag napikon si former President Duterte, to a point na umamin na siya na may ano siya involvement sa
tagal na ako pumapatay, hindi pa ako kinakasuhan.
Tapos yung sinabi niya, ayan, yan si Bato, yan, yung mga yan, kinakabahan yan, nagdadasal na yan kasi kasama sa Davao Death Squad yan. So things like that.
Nakatawa nga ako yung kay Senator Risa Hontiveros, di ba sinabi ni, yun sa impyerno, yung mga yan, naku, wala naman pong jurisdiction yung batas natin sa impyerno. Sabi niya, ano yung sabi ni PRRD?
Hilain daw kita
pababa. Sabi niya, wala po akong plano na pumunta.
Tapos hilain kita. Hindi, pero I believe naman the former President Duterte when he said na, pasensya na, but that's really my character. Because that's really his character. But who best said it among all of them, and afterwards, it was si SP Cheese Escudero, and he said, kahit sabihin mong joke pa yan, at sinabi mo, any testimony entered into the hearing is under oath. And can be used. It's a matter of public record.
Yes.
And it can be used against him. Even if he said it was a joke, the general theme is may namatay dahil sa akin. So at the very least, meron siyang command responsibility because of the death.
So anyway, kung kukunin daw yung mga ito, yung gagawing documents para sa evidence sa mga kaso, may it be local or international, Senate has to certify it.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, sige. Lipat na tayo sa iba pang issue. Our top story for today is PhilHealth. The Supreme Court has released a temporary restraining order or TRO against the transferring of PhilHealth's unused 10 billion pesos fund to the National Treasury. But what will happen to the funds that were already returned to the government before the TRO? Here's the report.
The controversial transferring of untapped PhilHealth funds to the National Treasury will be paused for a while. That is after the Supreme Court released a temporary restraining order, or TRO, preventing the state-run health insurer to return almost 10 billion pesos of its funds to the government. The TRO is effective immediately.
The TRO is just really to prevent the further transfer of more funds from PhilHealth to the National Treasury.
So far, PhilHealth has already returned 60 billion pesos of its unused funds. The Supreme Court en banc did not tackle transferred funds. It can be up for debate in the scheduled session of oral arguments on January 14, 2025. The petitioners expressed satisfaction with the TRO. Neri Colmenares said, this is an achievement for the beneficiaries who are depending on PhilHealth for health services. Former Associate Justice Antonio Carpio also expressed hope that the executive branch will return all the transferred funds back to PhilHealth. PhilHealth respected the Supreme Court's decision. It also assured the public that it will continue its health and financial services.
Now let's get more information about this report.
We have PhilHealth spokesperson Dr. Israel Ish Pargas on the line. Good morning, spokes. How are you? Thank you for joining us on Branch.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. And of course, all those who are watching today, good morning.
Hey, Doc Ish.
Okay, Doc Ish, let's get right to it, Doc Ish. TRO ang pag-usapan natin. What is the next step of PhilHealth regarding this TRO?
Well, we fully respect the decision of the court. And of course, we shall abide by its decision. So we are not to transfer the remaining amount of around 29.88 billion to the National Treasury anymore. And of course, because the case is still with the Supreme Court and there will be oral argument that is scheduled this January, then we shall also be participating if we are called.
Yes. Dr. I'd like to clarify something. Kasi ang daming very contentious issue yung word unused funds or excess funds. Ano po ang definition ng unused or excess funds with regards sa PhilHealth? Because madami nagsasabi, the law only specifies daw na hindi pwede i-transfer yung unused funds pag nanggagaling sa operational expense. But rather, these funds daw are from other incomes ng PhilHealth. Is that correct, Doc Ish?
Well, Jack and Angela, sorry, because I will refrain from responding to any technical issues with regard to this case because, again, this is still with the court and for the court to decide.
We understand that, Doc.
Okay. Sige po. Pero ano po bang just in case po, let's say for example, pumanig po doon sa mga nagpetisyon yung decision ng Supreme Court, is there a chance na magkaroon po ng mga expansion pa itong kung yung mga gagamitin na ibinalik na fund gagamitin sa expansion pa ng members' benefits?
Yes, we are fully committed to our mandate of providing more financial protection, especially during health risk, and of course in improving the efficiency of our operations. Tuloy-tuloy naman po ang ating nakaplano na mga expansion and benefit development and improvement in our operations.
Oo, Doc Ish, alam na naman natin, ang daming affected yung mga from the severe tropical storm Christine and other storms. Meron po plano ba ang PhilHealth and extending help sa mga nangangailangan sa kanila?
Well, lahat naman po ng pagkakasakit, especially those which are brought about by the typhoon, is of course covered by PhilHealth, and we are also looking into providing help, especially to those health facilities which have been damaged or destroyed by the current typhoon, and so we are looking also into extending the period of filing, but we are still studying that currently, but we are considering.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright. Doon po sa mga issue pa rin po tungkol dito sa PhilHealth Fund, isa po sa mga sinasabi ng mga petitioners and also mga kababayan natin na kulang daw yung mga benepisyo or packages, health packages para sa mga indigents, sa mga PWD, senior citizens. Meron po ba tayong plano on that?
Well, actually, Angela, even before the issue on 89.9 billion came out, PhilHealth started expanding its benefit packages. Remember, in 2023, we already expanded the number one case, which is the pneumonia.
Yes.
We expanded it from 32,000 to 90,000 as we cover it today. We expanded our coverage for stroke. And in the first quarter of 2024, we expanded the case rate to 30% across the board. And then we expanded the breast cancer now from 100,000 to 1.4 million. And continuously, we have been increasing the hemodialysis, which we have increased twice already the amount.
Yes.
And soon before this October end, we are going to come out with our increased benefit package for severe dengue and our COVID-19 benefits. And before the year ends, we are still coming out with our increased benefits on cataract, on peritoneal dialysis, and we are looking into another round of 30 to 50% increase in our case rates across the board.
Doc Ish, you mentioned breast cancer. Now, how about ano po ang plano ng PhilHealth with regards to other cancers like lung cancer, which is one of the leading causes of deaths among male men in the Philippines, tsaka the use of immunotherapy drugs aside from chemo?
Yes. Right. We are also planning, and we are actually in the development process now of expanding our benefits for chemotherapy for lung, liver, ovary, prostate, and cervical cancer, which we hope to finish before the year ends. We are also expanding our Z-benefit package or catastrophic care package for cancers, again, for lung, liver, prostate, and for cervical, and even for kidney transplantation. Actually, part of our increase in the breast cancer is to expand the therapy, not just on chemotherapy, but also on targeted hormonal therapy.
Yes.
So we are also expanding even the treatment which is being covered by PhilHealth right now.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Expansion pa din po pag-usapan natin kasi sabi niyo po hindi pa po kayo pwede magsalita regarding sa fund transfer, no, Doc Ish? Syempre pulso, pulso po ng masa dahil yung ibang mga nakakausap po natin, mga na-o-hospital, ang mga bill po nila sa hospital would amount to 200,000-300,000 and then they would end up getting like 20,000-30,000 from PhilHealth. Meron po ba tayong mga pagbabago o gagawin na plano na pagbabago sa computation para po mas mapalawak yung makukuha ng mga members?
Well, again, gaya nung nabanggit ko, nung February of 2024, we expanded already our case rate to across the board increase of 30,000, of 30%, sorry. And then before the year ends, we are again planning to have another round of 30 to 50% increase in our case rate. And again, just like as I have said, in some of the more common diseases, which are causes of the admission of our members or our patients, we have increased those. Like, for example, pneumonia, we increased that from 32,000 to 90,000. For the stroke, we increased that from 28,000 to 76,000. And this time, the dengue will be increased from 16,000 to 47,000. So we are actually increasing all our packages. And of course, as part of the Universal Healthcare Act, if the patient opts to be admitted in a basic or ward accommodation, especially in government facilities, then there is no co-pay already. Everything is shouldered by PhilHealth, and there is no co-pay. But of course, if the patient opts to be admitted in a expensive private hospital with amenities, then of course they are also willing to pay for those amenities. But for the minimum standards of care, PhilHealth is already covering those.
Oo. Lastly po, Doc Ish, yung update po natin dun sa backlog ng payment sa mga hospital. Kasi yan din po isa sa mga ini-issue po ngayon ng mga hospital eh.
But technically, actually, yung pong ating backlog has been reduced before. Ang issue natin is mga around 20 or 10 billion pesos. Pero because of our efforts to reconcile with the hospitals, especially the private hospitals, we already have decreased this to around 4 billion. But we are still continuing to process and improve on our payment mechanism para po maging updated na tayo sa kanilang mga claims. And hopefully, this will translate to decrease in whatever sinasabi na utang ng PhilHealth sa kanila. Actually po, when we reconciled our data with them, ang karamihan sa hinahanap nila na pera ay yung pong mga claims na na-deny or naka-appeal sa amin ngayon or mga claims na ibinalik namin kasi may mga kakulangan sa kanilang dokumento. So, but with our efficiencies, bumababa na rin po yung mga sinasabi nilang pagkakautang namin.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyo, PhilHealth spokesperson, Dr. Israel Pargas.
Thank you very much and good morning.
Good morning.
Ayun.
So, hindi pa kasi daw siya pwedeng magsalita.
Yeah, understood. Kasi naka-TRO ka eh. Naka-TRO ka at may case.
Pero wala namang gag order eh.
No, but that's given kasi pag nasa court yan, they have to, maririnig ng yung arguments sila kasi there are two sides sa arguments eh. So you have to keep that. That's given na pag
pero
may
yun
pending
nga,
case.
so at least ito may TRO. Maraming mga kababayan natin na natutuwa dito sa TRO na ginawad nga ng Supreme Court. Pero it doesn't mean na stop na yung paggagawin nila. Pero magkakaroon pa nga ng oral arguments next year.
Actually,
para kung ano ba yung kakatigan, tama ba yung ginawa ng Department of Finance or tama ang sinasabi nito mga petitioners na illegal yung ginawa ng UF?
Actually, yung TRO is only temporary in nature because the oral hearing scheduled for January, if hindi nag-TRO, the fund transfer would have been completed before
the end of the year.
Before the end of the year, so it renders the hearing moot and academic on January. So ginawa ng Supreme Court, ipigil natin fund transfer, pag-usapan natin sa January, then pag may decision na tayo after the oral arguments, then we can lift the TRO and see ano yung final decision. So ganun ang mangyayari po.
Yun ang mangyayari. Kasi nga, syempre, sinasabi ng mga petitions, ang dami kasi nag-file eh. Di ba? Una, yung kampo nila Senator Coco Pimentel.
Yeah.
Tapos pangalawa, sila Shelo Magno. Pangatlo, itong
Colmenares.
sila, ang tawag dito? Isang Bayan Coalition. Isang Bayan Coalition. Sila, former Chief Justice, Associate Justice Carpio Morales. Antonio Carpio, sorry. Yun yung tatlong petitioners na nag-file. Tapos sila yung nag-granta ng TRO. Parang hindi nga matuloy muna yung pangatlo. Third tranche na to. Actually, nung lumabas itong issue na to, natapos na yung first tranche. Diba? Pangalawa na yung pinag-usapan yun eh. Kaya ang dami rin mga nagalit ng mga
kasi yung first tranche is may presumption of regularity yan eh. They really have to do that because end of the fiscal year and you have to close the books and open yung new budget natin for next year. So, but abangan natin sa January, ano yung final decision ng Supreme Court regarding that issue.
At least mabilis yung ng Supreme Court.
Hoy, guys, stay tuned sa One News the whole day because may bagyo po na papasok or sa loob na ng Pilipinas, and keep updated para safe tayo lahat. That wraps up today's episode of Brunch.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro. He is Angelo Castro III. Ingay mo. We are One News, all sides, all the time.